a little bit different of a video today. It's going to be me going over the first DYC off the dock race. I did not do well this race, and I just wanted to go through and go and examine some of the things that I did wrong, I guess. To me, it seemed easier doing it this way than editing it and then posting it and having people in the comments, say, oh, you did this wrong and you did this wrong. I know what I did wrong, so let's just go through it. So first thing, we have a new race course this year. It's very similar to the one last year, except with one more, or two more turns, I guess I should say. So instead of going around the Rooster Tail Can to the Garwood mark, as you can see on this map, we go around the Rooster Tail Can, back up to the Harbor Hill mark, then back down to the Rooster Tail Can and keep the Garwood mark to port, and then come around the channel marker, which is the Nun, and then finish the race right there. So one of the main things was the race committee did not have a proper starting device. They typically have a loud cannon, and I think it's like a 12 gauge cannon or something, but they didn't have it, and they just had an air horn. The reason why this was an issue was because it's a running start, so Flying Scots are start 4, but then the bigger boats go start 1, start 2, start 3. So we have at least 15 minutes before our start, but once they hit the cannon for the start 1, then 5 minutes after that, start 2's 5-minute start, and then start 3 and start 4. So what happened is the Flying Scot groups, or the Flying Scots kind of split into two groups. Group 1 here, you can see, kind of hung around main dock waiting to hear the air horn, while Group 2 sort of crossed the starting line and took the initiative to start the race, and it kind of messed things up. But we caught up, so it wasn't a big deal. But our start was bad, is my point. So our second biggest problem was the first mark rounding as well, which is the Harbor Hill mark. I think the current took us, but rewatching the video, I just completely misjudged where the boat was relative to the mark. So I ended up hitting it, as you'll see here soon. So turning the boat, jibe, bam, hit it. So now I have to do a 360 around the mark, and this is where my boat handling completely went out the window. Kind of tack jibe here. Main's flapping, can't get control of the boat. The vang went off, and so you see the boom is kind of at an upward angle here. Trying to get around this mark, and just completely bombing the entire thing, and that was just complete boat handling issue. Everybody else did it completely fine, but for whatever reason, I was the only one that had the issue, and that was pretty disappointing, and it kind of psyched me out a bit for the rest of the race. So the third problem we had was concerning an overlap at the third mark, which would be the Harbor Hill mark. I'm going to explain what an overlap like what the rules of the overlaps are in our circumstance here. So here we go. Around the mark, there's about 3 boat length circle that goes around the mark, and the rules of right of way and some maneuvering tactics. And some rules apply to those where you can't maneuver a certain way and you got to give right a certain way depending on what the scenario is. So let's say you're coming up to the mark and you're boat A. Boat B has crossed your transom line, indicated in green, which means that you have to give them room to round the mark as you're rounding the mark. That way it's fair for everybody. However, if you're boat A in this scenario, again, and boat B does not cross your transom line, again, indicated in green, then you do not have to give them room rounding the mark. If they come in faster than you, then they have to give you room since your nose touched that 3-boat circle first. And again, I'm kind of paraphrasing and going really quick with this rule. Let's say that boat A has a little bit of room between them and the mark. Another boat could come in there and steal that, but it's more towards their own risk. But just know that boat A does not have to give boat B room if they are not overlapped. So how does that concern us here? As you'll see in a second, we're coming up to the mark, and behind us would be our boat B. And you can see right here that they are not overlapped with us, so we do not have to give them room when rounding the mark. They would have to give us room by going on the windward side of us. So here we are, coming up to the mark. Cassidy is in the boat to our starboard. We're overlapped here, so we're trying to give each other room, but we're losing speed, which is causing us to have trouble rounding this mark. But here comes our boat B. They're coming in hot, and you can see there they are, coming in hot, coming in hot, coming in hot, and boom. What they should have done is they should have went to the windward side of us and given us room to round the mark properly. We discussed this on land in a after-sail discussion. They didn't know that there was a 3-boat rule around the mark, and they understood the overlap a little bit, but they thought that we would have to give them room. Again, we talked it over. Everybody kind of learned something there, so no harm, no foul. But it just kind of messed me up there in the moment. Again, I was already psyched out from that mark rounding, so I just wasn't in the right mindset. All right, so the last problem was our mark rounding at the 5th mark towards the end of the finish, or towards the finish, I guess I should say. So here you'll see we're going to round the mark, and we're going to stop dead. All right, so we've rounded the mark, and you can see all these other boats behind us. And you'll notice that they're just going to speed on by. So there's 4. They're going to gain speed. They're already coming out of frame there. And then boat 2 is going to come along and just absolutely steamroll us. So in the end, we're going to get about 7th place. We had 8 boats out there. I honestly don't know what went wrong here. Maybe it's possible we were being shadowed by their sails, or we were just too close to the dock. We should have stayed more on the outside. I honestly don't know what it is here. I'm going to lean towards that the other boat's sails were kind of shadowing us and giving us bad wind. But that just cost us the race. We were in a 4th before that point. But as you can see, like, our demeanor pretty cruddy, but everybody sped on by and we just completely got steamrolled. So, all right. So now we're going to go over some of the negatives that we had in this race. It's some things that I noticed and some things that my crew noticed. So let's roll them out. First one, boat handling. Jibing to me was the most difficult part of this race. It was killing us at these marks. The downwinds, it was killing us just because I just could not handle the boat in a jibe. I don't know what it was. Possibly just get more time on the water and practice. Number 2 was my mentality. Once we rounded the mark for the 2nd time after we hit it, I started to psych myself out and just think, we need to do well, we need to do well, we need to get this in the bag, and we need to do well. So I kind of had a defeatist's attitude by basically the 1st mark. When we were in Florida for that J70 clinic, that was the first thing they said is negativity can ruin a boat's progress in the water and in the race. So my mentality was very poor, and I was just completely negative. So just don't psych yourself out and stay positive the whole race, because like I said, you could go from 8th to 1st on other people's mistakes, or you just have better wind or whatnot. Micromanaging your crew, don't do it. That was the one thing my crew said that I did the entire time, was micromanage. Bring the jib in, let the jib out, hike, do this, do that. Trust your crew. They're your crew for a reason. They know when to bring the jib in and when to bring it out. If you are heading down and they're not letting it out as fast, maybe then give them a suggestion of, hey, can you let it out? I'm going to head down a little quicker. Or if you're going to point up, say, hey, I'm going to point up. Don't communicate, but don't micromanage. Trust your crew. And that's something that I should have done in the beginning, and I don't know why I did that. It was very poor skippersmanship of me, and I do regret that. 4 and 5, reading the wind. It was really shifty out there, and I think that I just had a little bit of a problem reading the wind where it was coming from fast enough. And then again, the start was just wonky, but that was to nobody's fault of their own. We just didn't have the right equipment at the time. Now, on to the positives. There are a few positives that I want to end on because, like I said, mentality is everything. So don't end on a negative note. So here are some of the positives that we agreed we did well on. So to start off, rounding the rooster tail mark for the first time. That's the first time we've ever did that in this race. I think we judged the current, the wind, and our distance from the rooster tail mark, and I think it was one of our better mark roundings overall, actually. Our next positive is our upwind legs. I think we could heel properly, and we brought the sails in at just the right amount of trim. And this is where I think we caught a lot of people on our upwinds. Not so much on the downwind, but on our upwinds, we did really well. We were faster than other boats, I would say. So our third positive would be our Garwood mark rounding, and that is the low, I think the fourth mark that we were technically supposed to round. Again, I think we judged it properly. I think we went a little bit too close to the concrete wall that's over there and lost some speed, but what can you do? I guess don't go to the wall. So our fourth positive would be the after sail discussion. Me and my crew sat down and we kind of went over some of, again, the positives and the negatives of, what we did wrong, what we could do better, what we thought was good. And that's kind of where the idea of this video came from. And I know that this is a little bit different from my normal content, but I wanted to get this video together and post it because I do want to give you guys the complete off the dock series, but this one being so, I think rewatching the video, it turned out more negative than positive. And I didn't want to just post a video where it was everybody complaining. I kind of wanted to turn it into a positive video and into a learning experience. And anybody depicted in this video, it is not supposed to be a negative on them. It's just a learning experience for me. That's why I'm doing this. And this is why we have the Flying Scots in general, is to build up the One Design program and build the Flying Scot fleet around the Detroit River. So, it's not me hating on them. It's just me pointing out what messed me up in the end. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I might do more like this, but just expect the regular point of view sailing videos.